It happened to me once or twice. I dehydrated. I didn't even know I was dehydrating. Like, there's all foam coming up in my mouth. And just bang, hit the floor. You can't move anymore. You can't breathe. You can't open your lungs. You can't open your tonsils. I kept feeling as if my throat was closing in on me.
The temperature can become extremely high and they can get hyperthermia. Blood can start clotting. Muscle can start breaking down, and this can lead then to renal failure, kidney failure, liver damage.
In rare instances, ecstasy can end in death. There have been 20 deaths from ecstasy in Britain in the last 4 years, where it's estimated that up to 1 million tablets are taken each weekend. Paula was 20. She didn't drink or normally take drugs, but on one exceptional evening, she took a dance drug and went to this nightclub in Manchester. 2 hours later, she collapsed and was taken to hospital.
She suffered a first heart attack, and I think they must have resuscitated her from that. And then she suffered another one, and they got her up onto the life support machine. And that's how she was when we arrived there. And like I say, she didn't come round again, and she just died on the Tuesday evening. Her heart just gave out.
Paula's family have started a campaign against dance drugs. One pill can kill. They know that deaths are rare from the drugs, but they believe that young people should know the risks they run. In spite of drinking liquids, and in spite of cooling down or chilling out, in spite of taking all precautions, in exceptional cases like Paula's, the effect of the drug can be lethal.
But it's the ones that have the one-offs that are dying, and I'm sure they don't realise the danger of it. They just think it's a fun drug, and it's not. Paula hadn't had any alcohol. That's another reason the experts say why people die from it, because they've had alcohol with it. There was no trace of alcohol at all. She'd chilled out, she'd had the water, she still died.
Oh, it's just indescribable. I'm sorry. Just dreadful pain. Well, I'm sure they mustn't know what these awful things can do to want to take them, really, because it's like playing Russian roulette with your life. It could just snuff your life out just like that, like it did with my daughter.
This month, Ireland had a similar case to Paula's, a young man who collapsed at a Dublin dance club after taking ecstasy. He remained for days on a life support machine before regaining consciousness. But even the deaths don't appear to be putting people off the drug.
Such small numbers have died by comparison with the numbers who take the drug. That isn't a big effect on their drug-taking behaviour. It's like if people read about a car crash, it doesn't stop them driving a car the next day. So they might read about a death in the newspaper, but it doesn't stop them taking it the next Saturday.
And the research which has been done by the National Poisons Unit at Guy's Hospital in London indicates that those young people who have used ecstasy and died invariably have been in club settings and dancing vigorously, and eventually have fallen foul to heat stroke and fluid loss, hypothermia. Some of the young people who've died have had body temperatures over 41 degrees centigrade. They suffered fluid loss up to 3 litres. And so that was an important piece of research, because one could begin to point to a particular risk in a particular setting and advise hundreds of thousands of youngsters about the dangers of heat stroke, and go on to advise them about how best, if they're going out and dancing and taking drugs, they can avoid the dangers of heat stroke.
Taking any mind-changing drug is a form of escapism, and one theory advanced for the cause of the increase in the use of dance drugs is the sense of hopelessness caused by unemployment.
It's like a big sedative, you know. I mean, if there was no drugs and there was no drink, everyone would be running around like a lunatic, looking for work and complaining that there was no work. And, you know, really making a case for you know, their rights, that they should be able to work and there should be work for them. But now, you know, there's ease around and there's drink, and it sedates people. It pushes people down.
Drugs may push people down, but for the pushers of drugs, there's no shortage of work or profits. It's a lucrative, if dangerous, trade.
The drug barons here never seldom handle, whether it be the ecstasy, whether it be LSD or hash, cannabis. They always have couriers working for them. They have a number of agents who distribute the drug. We can get a number of drug dealers in the year. They take the number of drug dealers, but we'll seldom find a chain of evidence that will lead back to the top guy, because he's covered his tracks all the way. And it's difficult, very difficult to detect.
Most of the ecstasy found in Ireland comes originally from Holland. The unprotected southwest coast has been used to smuggle in drugs. Last year, £7 million worth of cannabis was seized on a boat off Courtmacsherry. It was the biggest drugs haul in the history of the state. There are 300 miles of coastline, taking account of the indentations from Rosslare to Shannon. And there are many coves where a boat or yacht can offload its cargo without being noticed. Without patrols or even radar, this coastline is vulnerable, and the Gardaí are aware that drugs have been smuggled in through this route. What is the case for cannabis could be so for dance drugs like ecstasy, which are easier to conceal. The peddling of a drug like ecstasy can be hugely profitable. In the north, paramilitaries have been involved in the ecstasy traffic. Last week, a young man from Cork died after packages of dance drugs he was smuggling burst inside him. It's become a violent trade.
Our own members are operating under the Misuse of Drugs Act, carrying out searches, searching drug dealers. They're being threatened. And you have violence in a number of pubs. We had an incident some time back where you had a wholesale shootout at a pub here in Cork. This is a pub here in the city centre. And you had a number of people involved in the drug trade. So the violence is creeping in, and I suppose that's a disturbing development also.
Ecstasy is relatively easy to make. It's possible for amateurs working with junior chemistry sets to manufacture the drug. A serious risk with the homemade variety of dance drugs is adulteration. There's no quality control. Cheaper ingredients have been used, and these range from the harmless to the toxic.
Ecstasy does appear to be easy to manufacture, and quite often it's being manufactured in backstreet laboratories in garages. Now, in England, it has been associated with contaminants mixed in with the ecstasy tablet. Now, this may, in some cases, it has in fact been heroin. So people think they're taking ecstasy, but in fact, they may be taking heroin and then leading on to all the dangers which can be associated with heroin. It wouldn't surprise me at all that it would be made in Dublin. It's so easy to make.
That most young users of dance drugs have no idea what they're getting, and there are far more young entrepreneurs now who will actually make up their own tablets, or more commonly capsules. They'll make them up using drugs like amphetamine, which is powerful and cheap, drugs like ketamine, which is actually an anesthetic. So it's a fragmented and diversifying market now. It's highly adulterated, highly complicated, highly toxic, and highly dangerous.